Every year, a new S series phone comes out, and every year the question comes, is it worth upgrading? The answer to that question can vary drastically depending on a person's situation. Of course, the new phone is going to be better than the previous phone, but it's not always worth it. In this video, I'm going to go over my favorite features on the S24, and I'm also going to point out some of the downfalls where I think Samsung missed some opportunities. By the end of this video, you should have a good idea of whether this phone is worth upgrading to or not. As always, do your own research before handing over your hard-earned money. My first topic is going to be the screen. And with the S24, the screen size has been increased from 6.1 inches to 6.2 inches. It's not a huge difference, but I'll take a bigger screen any day, and especially since it was mostly due to slimming down on the bezels rather than increasing the phone size to make up for it. And the screen brightness was increased to 2600 nits, and it's going to be useful for using it outdoors in direct sunlight or in bright environments. This might not be a big deal for anyone in the S23 lineup, but for anyone using an older phone, this might be a pretty big deal. Where I think Samsung missed out on this one was not giving it the Gorilla Glass armor with the reduced glare or the anti-glare coating. I'm not sure if there's a big cost difference between Gorilla Glass Victus 2 and the Gorilla Glass armor. Maybe that's why they didn't add it on, but I think it would have been a good way to get new users to the S24 lineup. And I loved it on the S24 Ultra, and I would have loved it just as much on the S24. They didn't go titanium, but they went Armor Aluminum 2, which is an upgrade from Armor Aluminum based on what they tell us is supposed to be stronger. So it might not be a huge thing, but I'll take a tougher frame any day. Now when we move to the cameras, I don't know if it was the exact same part number that was used for the sensors, but based on all the specs, size, and everything being the same, I'm going to assume that it's the exact same sensors. So in terms of hardware, there was literally no upgrade. However, things are looking a little bit different on the software front. Not in a major way, but the pictures are looking a little bit different. It seems like the color science for the photo optimization has been updated slightly. Even though it's just software, I don't know if it's going to be added to the older generations, so it may be something to keep in mind. Now let's move on to the battery. So the S24 has 4000 milliamp hours, and it was increased by 100 from the S23, but it was actually increased by 300 when compared to the S22. 300 milliamp hours could make a pretty good difference in day-to-day use, but that's not the whole story. The biggest battery improvement is actually from the software. So I don't know if it's purely the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 or if the One UI 6.1 is making a difference there as well, but it seems like the S24 lineup is sipping power very efficiently. Even though the battery size is a little under par for Android phones, I'm actually very happy with the performance I've had so far. And as an example, yesterday my screen out time was over 4 hours, yet I still had over 40% battery remaining. And if you're interested in finding out how long the battery will last on a heavy day of use, subscribe and be on the lookout for the full day challenge on the S24. However, I still think there was a missed opportunity for Samsung on this one. They could have increased the charging speeds slightly and made it stand out a little bit more. So they kept the charging speeds at 25 watt wired, but just increasing it to 30 would have been just a slight bump to get it in front of the other phones in this category to let it charge a little bit faster. Obviously 45 would be amazing. I can just imagine how fast that'll charge a 4000 milliamp hour battery, but I mean, just increasing it slightly would be great. Now let's transition to the real star of the S24 lineup, and that's the software. The software has been updated in many ways that would put this phone as an upgrade-worthy phone. However, some of those software features are going to be added to the older generations, so it might not be worth it just yet. It's probably best to hold off on committing to this phone until we can find out which software features are going to be added to the older generations. But regardless of that, my favorite features are the Generative AI, the voice translation, the ability to slow down already recorded videos, and also the ability to shoot slow motion in 4K. The Generative AI is really just a photo saver, but I wish I did have it a few times in the past. It'll let you save those photos that came out pretty nice, but were too close to adjust the leveling. This will actually let you level it, and it'll just recreate the borders. And for the most part, if it's not anything too complicated, it's going to come out really good, and to the point where you probably wouldn't even be able to tell that it was AI generated. Another great way to use it is as a second level of the object eraser. And this is because instead of just removing it and just matching the colors around it, the Generative AI is going to try to figure out what would go there and fill it in that spot. So instead of being just random pixels, it'll actually be some sort of shape that might appear in the picture. There are times that it can fail drastically, but for the most part, it's going to come out pretty good. And obviously, the smaller the object is that you're removing, the better it is because it's going to be harder to tell where it was removed from. Moving on to the ability to slow down already recorded videos. This one's awesome because you can actually get existing videos and apply this software to it. I wouldn't call this a video saver, but it's more of a video enhancer. It's going to let you use the slow motion in certain parts of the video so you can create a more dramatic effect when recording it. Good example might be like if you're recording a skater and they're, at the top of the half pipe, you can slow it down as they're going up and down. So you could create that dramatic effect and then speed it back up when they land. It works pretty good, but there are times that it does kind of create like a little glitch on it. I didn't notice it when I first tried it, but on one of my latest videos, I noticed it on one of the subjects. It didn't have any issues with cars or ATVs, but as soon as there was a person on an ATV, I don't know if it just didn't know what to do with the top of the head, but you will see that the top of the head kind of separated, kind of like a South Park character. But I think really the better improvement is being able to record slow motion in Ultra HD. This is going to help keep all your videos consistent because most phones are recording 4K already, and now you can actually have your slow motion match that quality. And I would consider this a big deal because not even every DSLR can do this. For example, my mirrorless DSLR can record slow motion in 4K. It still has to run it in 1080p, which is, it's fine really, but every time I record slow motion, I have to zoom in and reduce the pixels on the screen. So the quality is just not consistent. Of course, this would have been even nicer with a new sensor, but whatever. And the final thing on my list of upgrade-worthy features is the on-device voice translation. This is going to be especially useful if you're traveling and you don't speak that language, or even if you're just not that great at speaking a language. So you want to have this as a backup. It's going to be beneficial no matter what. It's also great that it works offline. All you have to do is download the language pack and it's going to work for you. Now, in terms of accuracy, it's pretty accurate, but I noticed it has problems determining if it's a statement or a question. And also, it'll have some issues with specific words. But overall, it's going to be good enough for you to determine what the person is telling you or what they're asking you so that you can, answer back, or to save its directions, you can actually go the right way. So it's not perfect, but it's definitely handy to have with you. It could even be a lifesaver one day, who knows? Since this feature is done on device, I would be surprised if this is one of the ones that's added to the S23 lineup. I think that the ones that would be added to the S23 lineup are the ones that require an internet connection because it's possible that the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 just doesn't have the necessary power to run all of these features. But of course, we still gotta wait and see what Samsung tells us. So if you're in the market for a new phone, the S24 is actually a really good option. It has a lot of power in a small package. It's very stylish in a subtle way. It has a slightly larger battery, but with even greater battery life. And even though the camera hardware wasn't upgraded, the photo optimization is making a difference on the photos it's taking. If you have the S24, let me know how your experience has been so far and if you consider it to be a worthwhile upgrade. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more content on the S24 and other products. And as always, I'll see you next time.